AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's rock!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. We are live today from Marucci Hitter's house, one of our favorite spots in Baton Rouge, so come on hang out with us. Ed Orgeron back on LSU staff. The baseball season has come to an end. More hypocrites attacking Will Wade. We'll get into all of it over the next 3 hours. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
The LSU baseball season ended on Wednesday night in Hoover, and maybe the only thing that could supersede that being the lead of the show is Lane Kiffin hiring Ed Orgeron. Coach O is officially back at LSU. How do I feel about this? I feel about this today the exact same way I felt about this 6 months ago when there was a report that Lane Kiffin might be interested in adding Ed Orgeron to his staff. And then Matt Zenitz had a report that LSU would be open to that. So we reacted to it then. I don't even need to say it again. I'll save my breath in this moment. I'll just play the clip from 6 months ago. Hit it, Muse.
Ed Orgeron is an exceptional recruiter. I would argue, have argued in the past, that's his superpower. And he is also one of the great defensive line coaches, tactically and technically, ever. He's on the Pete Jenkins tree, and he's awesome. Ed Orgeron is awesome at those things. He is an awesome recruiter and awesome defensive line coach. If you could have Ed Orgeron on staff at LSU, yes, absolutely, 100% co-sign, absolutely on board with it. If that's someone who Kiffin would want on his staff, I would have no problem, which I would celebrate that.
Okay, so I told you 6 months ago I would celebrate it. Let's celebrate this. For all the reasons it made sense 6 months ago, it still makes sense now. Look, Ed Orgeron was on Unsportsmanlike with Evan Cohen at that time. If you remember, as all that was happening, Lane had yet to be hired. But it was looking like that was going to happen. And so Ed was kind of going through that cycle. He was doing a lot of interviews, a lot of media, because we all know the buyout at LSU, that ran out in December. So Ed was getting his name out there for jobs. There was talk about Arkansas. There was talk about Oregon State. And so he does this interview on ESPN Radio National on Unsportsmanlike. And Evan Cohen asked him if he would be interested in joining Lane Kiffin at LSU as an assistant.
Yeah, I consider it. I love LSU. I still got my home in Baton Rouge. I love when I coached with Coach Miles, being the defensive line coach. I love the Tigers, and I'm getting back to coaching for sure. I consider it, no doubt.
So all of these things have now aligned. Ed Orgeron did not become the defensive line coach, as we know. They hired Sterling Lucas to coach edge rushers. They kicked Kevin Peoples inside. And Ed's official title with LSU is going to be special assistant for defense and recruiting. We'll come back to that in a second. But I think there are three undeniable truths when we talk about Ed Orgeron. There are three undeniable truths when we talk about Orgeron. Number one, he is a great recruiter. This has been his superpower his entire career. That's literally how he kept his job. He's told this story before. When he was on staff at SC and Pete Carroll got hired in 2000, everyone else left, and Orgeron just went out and kept recruiting and was in the mix for some elite level players. And Pete Carroll was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Nobody's told me I'm not working." So he went recruit. And so That's literally how he kept his job at SC, was because of his ability and willingness and relationships to recruit. Remember the Caleb Von Chasson story? Like when Chasson was a 5-star edge in the state of Texas, Orgeron goes to his house. When Chasson's about to get on a plane to go to Florida, Orgeron goes to his house with him and his grandma, follows him to the airport. He says, before you get on that plane, I want to be the last face you see. Like, dude is an insane recruiter. So, yes, and he is an elite defensive line coach. This is inarguable. From the time from 88 to 92 when he was at Miami, he coached Russell Maryland and Warren Sapp and I mean, you're talking about he had coached 8 All-Americans at defensive tackle. Like, it is Cortez Kennedy. I mean, from there, and he coached at Syracuse, and he coached defensive line at Southern Cal, as we mentioned, and then at Tennessee, and back to Southern Cal, and with the New Orleans Saints, and with LSU when Les Miles hired him. He's on the Pete Jenkins tree. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was a photo of Orgeron, who's living in Baton Rouge, over at Elite Training Facility, Hester's Place, working with Richard Anderson. So there's a relationship there already. Like, of course that makes a ton of sense. And yes, like, he loves LSU. You heard him say it in that clip. Do you remember this? This was in 2022. Ed had been fired, and he does an interview on WGNO in New Orleans, and he's asked about, would he go join Nick Saban's staff at Alabama? This is what Ed said. This was 2022. This is what he said.
It will never happen.
Never happened.
It will never happen.
So that person who had that dream doesn't have to
Don't have to worry about it. That will never happen with Ed Orgeron. I promise you.
Ed, like, who could have blamed him? If Nick Saban had called and said, do you want to come coach on my staff and help me recruit? Like, who would have blamed him? Get an opportunity to go on the other side of that game, the other sideline, recruit against LSU, coach against LSU, beat the school that fired you, stick it to your former employer, and he's like, it'll never happen. Like, he'd rather not work than go work at Alabama and coach against LSU. You cannot deny that man loves LSU. Like, that has never been ever in question, should never be in question. Look, I know when Ed was the head coach here, there's a lot of people who had the perception of me not liking Ed Orgeron. Like, I know that exists. It was there the entire time he was the head coach. And some of you, if you're new and weren't around during that time, like, that was rooted in when Ed was hired permanently in 2017. I didn't like the hire. I said it. I get paid to give opinions. It was my opinion. I said it. I don't think he liked that I said it or felt that way. But it was never a personal thing. It was just my opinion. And look, he had some really rough times early, and it ended really badly. But in the middle, they had the most glorious season in the history of the sport, and I would accept all of the crap on both ends for the glory of 2019. It was amazing. So now you have all of that really has nothing whatsoever to do with this. You have an established head coach. There's just no debating that. Ed's 64. He hasn't coached since he got fired at LSU in 2021. He's got a great relationship with Lane Kiffin. They worked together at Southern Cal, at Tennessee, then at Southern Cal again, 9 years on staffs together. They have a great relationship. Lane mentioned him in his introductory press conference at LSU. Like, I struggle to find the downside of this. It makes so much sense. And then the other part that I think is worth noting, the contract terms came out today. The offer sheet is $100,000. They got a 1-year deal for $100K. Now, I think this is important to mention. A lot of times with coaches' contracts, you have like a base that the athletic department pays, and then sometimes it's supplemented on top of that. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, TAF or booster groups or something like that was supplementing this contract so he's making more than $100K. But, like, what LSU athletics is going to be responsible for is $100K. So it's virtually nothing financially for LSU to do this. And then you look at the potential upside. The one question, like the literal one question that I had asked and had wondered from the beginning when we first started talking about this 6 months ago. And if you remember, I referenced, if you're a history buff, you'll remember this. There's one president in the history of the United States who, after his term ended, went back and served in Congress. That was John Quincy Adams. And I can't imagine the humility that must take to have been elected to the highest office in the country, to serve as president of the United States, and when your term is done, you so love your country and you want to continue serving your country that you go back into Congress. And that's what John Quincy Adams is, the only president to do that, and served in Congress for nearly 2 decades until his death. This is one of those instances where Ed Orgeron is going to pull up into a parking lot where he used to pull up into the spot that said reserved for the head coach of LSU. He's going to walk in the front door of football ops, and right when you walk in and you look to your right, it's the trophy room. If you've seen a picture of Lane and Ed shaking hands with the trophies behind them, that is literally right when you walk in football ops and turn to your right, that's what you're looking at, are all those trophies. And he's going to walk in every day, and he's going to look to his right, and he's going to see the Heisman, the Biletnikoff, the national championship trophy, all the stuff that he contributed to. And when you go through those double doors, there's an elevator that goes up to the coach's suite, the head coach's suite. And that's the elevator he used to take to his office, and now someone else occupies it. So is he good going into that building, parking in a different spot, walking past those trophies and not getting on that elevator and going to a different office? If the answer is yes, and it sounds like it is, if the answer is yes, awesome, because every other box is checked. And finally, I think there is probably some foreshadowing here or forward thinking by Lane Kiffin. Look, Blake Baker this year was offered Memphis and Tulane. LSU has another good defensive year. More teams are going to come calling for Blake Baker to be a head coach. When that happens and he leaves, it is very likely he is going to take Kevin Peoples and Jake Olson with him. They came with him from Missouri. They will likely go with him wherever he goes next. If that happens after this season, well, then you need a defensive line coach. Well, would it be great if Ed Orgeron's already on staff? Bingo. So I'm not saying it's why you do this, but it's also another ancillary benefit. So Ed Orgeron, it's official. He's back at LSU as a defensive assistant and recruiting, special assistant for defense and recruiting. And I think he's a great asset. He's a great asset for LSU. He'll be a great asset for Lane Kiffin's staff. So Coach O, back in the boot. All right, it's After Further Review. We're here at Marucci Hitter's House. Our show open every day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of your Fightin' Tigers of LSU. Baseball season's over. Softball is going to play in a Super Regional this weekend. Cheering on Beth Tarina's squad. Make sure you do it with plenty of delicious ice-cold Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR and the official beer of the Tigers. Okay, y'all, we're here today at Marucci Hitter's House on Segan. Come by and see us. We got hats, by the way. The Marucci World Series hats. If you're watching, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 7 hats. I think we had 8, and someone already scooped one. 7 people walk through the door. You want one of these hats? Boom. It's yours. Just come on, see us here on Segan near Airline at Marucci Hitter's House. All right, quick break. We'll come back. I'm fired up about this. One of Lane Kiffin's, speaking of defensive line, one of Lane Kiffin's 5-star defensive line commits is Jaden Bryant. He's going to join us next here on AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. Get Gordon and get it done. But today, I don't want to tell you necessarily about all the stuff that Gordon does for people who are injured. I want to tell you one of the things that Gordon does that's exceptional, that he gives back to the community. Going on, resuming in less than an hour. It's the open house over at The Garage. So The Garage is the podcast studio that Gordon has opened, and it's free to anyone to use if they want to use. Just schedule your time. If you want to go tour the facility, you can do that today. It's an open house. They had it from 10 to 2, and then they resume from 4 to 7. So in about 45 minutes, they're going to reopen. They're right there on the service road off of College that runs near, like where where like Roos Chris and everything is over there. Tio Javi's, it's over there. So you can see it from the interstate. Make sure you get on by over and tour The Garage today. Get Gordon and get it done.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalvr.com.
Rolling along here, Thursday edition of AFR. I always appreciate Blasia and the great team over at Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. It's not just healthcare, it's healthcare for your lifestyle. We are scheduled to be joined by LSU 5-star edge commit Jaden Bryant. Having a little trouble connecting with him right now. We'll keep you posted. If we get him, we'll get him. If not, we'll pivot. We do have Anthony Renato set to join us in an hour. Alex Milazzo will be here in hour number 3 as well. Specifically, want to talk to Alex about. Remember, Alex was here under Paul Maneri. Was here year 1 under Jay in 2022 when they had a little disappointing year, and then were on the road in the postseason. And then in 23, of course, kaboom, national championship. So what was that like, that transition from a disappointing year into a championship team? We'll get Alex's perspective, how he thinks Jay Johnson may approach this offseason, given all those things. A season that, of course, as we know, did come to an end on Wednesday night at the SEC tournament with a 3-1 loss to Auburn. It was kind of exactly what we anticipated it might be. Auburn threw their 2 best arms, and Marciano started. Sanders came out of the bullpen. It got him home. And LSU, oddly, which had really struggled on the mound, was really good for 2 days in the SEC tournament on the bump. Threw strikes, got consistent performances, just not enough offense against the 2 best arms from the team that leads the SEC in ERA. Butch Thompson, the Auburn head coach, said it. They were going into the SEC tournament with an eye on winning it. That was not lip service. Maybe they have a national seed locked up already, but I'm not 100% positive that I would say that. They are 3 in the RPI. It would stand to reason. We've seen crazier things, 17 league wins. They probably do, but they were 6th in the SEC. It stands to reason Auburn wins a game or 2 in the SEC tournament. They will just put a stranglehold on that thing. But you never want to leave it to chance with the committee. So I get what Auburn was doing, going all in to win and try to advance through this tournament. But this isn't an Auburn show. It's more about LSU. And Jay Johnson, after the game, when he was meeting with reporters, kind of went through the emotions of a season ending.
A lot of them, this will be the last time they play baseball, and some of them will move forward. And then obviously, Derek, Steve, Jake, all those guys will move on in the draft. So it's hard. It's raw right now. It's like you hear a pin drop in the dugout after the game, and at our place, you get going in this thing, and there's so much going on, and there's so much noise. I just want them to kind of be together. Like, we won't leave here, and at least the park, until they want to leave, and support each other. It's not just about LSU. It's a lot of these guys have been baseball players their whole life, and some of them that's coming to an end, and the season's coming to an end. I don't know that I have a thought on that just yet. Until the last out, I thought John was going to hit a homer, and then Zach was going to go out and get 3 outs and be playing Texas A&M on Friday. So,
look. Near the end of the game, Jay got Zach York and AB. He got Yaman a pinch hit AB. I think there was some realization settling in there. And Lord knows, look, the night, if you weren't watching the game, and I get it was late and a lot of people maybe have checked out, but it was fascinating because Derek Curiel probably had his last at-bat of his LSU career in the 9th inning last night. He walked. But he was called out on strikes and immediately tapped his helmet for the ABS. And the call was overturned, and it was ball 4, so he ended up taking his base. That's got to be one of the more unconventional last at-bats of an LSU career, maybe the most unconventional last at-bat of an LSU career there from Derek Curiel. But it happened twice in the 9th inning. So LSU had a couple of guys on for Pearson who swung out of his shoes a couple times, fouled a few, one off the top of his foot, one off the inside of his leg, and he was taking some hacks, man, trying to give LSU a lead there in the top of the 9th. It wasn't in the cards for LSU last night, and the season comes to an end. And I think we all kind of knew and understood the realization of what was going to happen in this tournament. LSU would bow out at some point, and it would end the most disappointing season quite literally in the history of the program. And I'm not one for hyperbole. I like to keep things more in check. But I think when you measure expectations to the reality, it's fair to say this is the most disappointing season in the history of the program. You are coming off a national championship, and depending on what poll you look at, you were either preseason number 1 or 2. And we have seen teams with high expectations. The 2024 team was coming off a national championship, and they had added Holman and Jump, and there was a lot of Tommy White was coming back, and there was a lot of reason for very grand expectations in 2024, and that's a team that started 3-12 in league play. Now they got off the mat, and they ended up getting to 500, and ended up, or I guess getting to 13 wins, and ended up making it into the regionals. And I mean, they were blown safe away from their best pitcher from advancing and hosting a super regional. But like, that's a disappointing end, traveling in regionals and not making it to supers. But not making the postseason altogether when you were preseason number one is an unmatched level of failure. And I don't mean for that language to be harsh, but it's true. At LSU, when you have the investment you have and the expectation on this program, to not make the postseason, to not play past Memorial Day is an epic failure. And we will have a lot of time to talk about all the nuance of what went wrong. And it's not anything that, I don't have a thought that you don't have. I mean, we've all watched the season. We know what happened. They tried to replace the power from Jones and Fry with 4 guys. I mean, Braden Simpson had 22 homers at High Point last year. Zach York is all-time home run leader at Grand Canyon. You brought in Caraway, who went on a tear in the regional round last year. I mean, then Seth Dardar, of course, coming home. And none of those guys ended up being impact guys for you. I mean, 3 of the 4 lost their jobs, and Simpson was never really an everyday player. And so that's a giant part of it. Another part of it is injuries, which is not an excuse, but it is part of the explanation. And the way that I would say it is, injuries aren't the reason that your season was disappointing, but it certainly is part of the reason why you didn't make the postseason. Cooper Moore started 2 league games for you, and he was your best strike thrower this year. And certainly this was a staff that struggled to throw strikes. And it's not just that you lost your number 2, but think about when you lose your number 2, then your number 3, in this case, William Schmidt, has to step up, and now you have a hole on Sunday. And then everyone in the bullpen steps up a chair. So it weakens you in every spot when you lose a guy like that. And then over the final month, you lost Casey Evans, who was your Friday guy, who looked awesome going into the 5th yesterday against Auburn. I mean, all of that has a compounding residual effect. I mean, Jake Brown missed the final month of the season. He was your best offensive weapon throughout the bulk of this season. Chris Stanfield missed half the year with a variety of injuries. I mean, all of those things compound, and it led to a really disappointing season. I'm not telling you if those guys are healthy, this team's going to Omaha. What I'm telling you is if those guys are healthy, I think it's fair to say you notch another 4 league wins, and you're probably playing in regionals next week on the road as a 2 or a 3 seed. Like, I think that is fair. And then we're having a different conversation. Like, I think back about the 2011 season, right? That was the season where Paul Mainieri's, and they won the championship in 2009, traveled in regionals in 2010 where they lost to UCLA. It was a great team with Bauer on it. And then in 2011, they missed postseason altogether. But if you remember that 2011 season, they won 13 games. Their RPI was 23. Like, that's a team that should have made regional. Like, in today's baseball, they would have made regionals. But then the SEC only had an 8-team SEC tournament, and because they didn't make the SEC tournament, that was enough for the committee to say, you're out. When in reality, like, that wasn't a team that was going to win a championship, but they should have made regionals. They were one of the 64 best teams in the country. I don't know that I could say that definitively about this team, that they would have deserved an at-large. They played much better in the final month of the season once you instituted the young guys. But I think it is fair to say, if you were healthy, you get to 13, 14 league wins. You certainly win one of those games against Mississippi State. You probably get the first game against Ole Miss. I mean, any of those games against Georgia, you scored enough to win any of them. So, I certainly think that injuries were a part that you have to discuss, but it's not where you lay the sole blame. And then the other thing that I would say is the most concerning was the lack of development. There were players this year that we anticipated were going to take a big step. And maybe we all have unrealistic expectations because of just the massive leap that Cade Anderson took from freshman to sophomore. I mean, Cade Anderson's freshman SEC ERA was like 27 in SEC play. And then he goes and becomes the 3rd pick of the draft in 1 year. I mean, maybe, look, I'm guilty of it. maybe I thought the same for Evans and Schmidt going into their sophomore years. And both pitched well. They just didn't pitch that well. And then there's guys in the bullpen who we've talked, Cooper Williams and Maverick Rizzi, and guys that we hoped would take a big step in year 2 that it just didn't happen. So that's really my biggest question. Like, I have no doubt that Jay Johnson is going to go out. He's going to recruit his face off. He's probably already like hitting refresh on the transfer portal, even though it's not even open yet. He's just sitting there clicking refresh, just waiting for that thing to open, just tapping his feet. Like, there's nobody in the world that's more sick about this than Jay Johnson is, which is why you have confidence he's going to get it right. And he'll learn his lessons from this year and how he assembled the roster to not make those same mistakes moving forward. But the thing you got to make sure happens is the young player development. Like Braun and Patrick and Cerna and Ruckert, those young guys were so encouraging this year by how well they played in their freshman year. But now you have to take that and understand the league has film on all those guys now and can adjust. And you got to be able to develop year 1 to year 2 now and be better next year for the experience they had this year. So it's going to be a miserable summer for Jay Johnson, but hopefully that misery fuels him even more to get on planes, to crisscross the country, to go see the best players, and for him to go, knock on doors, pound tables, pass the hat, shake trees, and get the necessary funds together he needs to make sure that he gets the right people on this roster so you don't have a repeat of this. I don't know that we'll ever see a full repeat of this under Jay Johnson with LSU missing the postseason altogether. And quick turnarounds can happen. Look at Texas A&M. They were preseason number 1 a year ago, missed the postseason. Now they're going to be a national seed. So you can do it very quickly if you get the right guys on the bus. And I don't know that there's anybody I'd rather have driving that bus than Jay Johnson. Disappointing, no doubt. LSU baseball season comes to an end. So long summer. They'll try to get it right for next season. All right, it's After Further Review. We're here from Marucci Hitter's House on Siegen near Airline. Hey, look, remember, they always had the bat trading deal. If you're watching, it's right here. You trade in, trade up. Trade in a Marucci or Victus bat. If you get 40% off. If you trade in a competitor's bat, you get 20% off if you trade in a Marucci or Victor. If you trade in a Marucci or Victus bat. So you'll get 40% off the new Marucci or Victus if you trade in a competitor's bat. So come on in here to Hitter's House. Get your new bat, caps, gloves, apparel, everything you need, man. All the wraps over here for the grips for your bats, batting gloves. And we're giving away we had free hats right here on the set with us for as long as we're here. First come, first serve. So pop on in and grab one of these Marucci World Series hats for free if you just walk in the door and see us here at Marucci on Siegen near Airline. All right, it's After Further Review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here on a Thursday edition of AFR. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back. We'll go around the SEC. A ton to do. More hypocrites teeing off on Will Wade. I can't wait to punch them in the nose. We'll do that as we continue. Don't you move. It's a Thursday edition of AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-0001, 752-0001, or 1hourbr.com. Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side. You see them all over town. You can't miss it. I mean, let's be honest. It's a giant yellow van. It's a giant banana rolling down the road. But it's unmistakable, and it's one of those things that whenever you actually start to notice it, it fades from the background into the foreground, and you'll be driving down I-10 or Airline Highway or Jefferson Highway or Highland Road or Burbank or anywhere in town, and you will notice how many of those big yellow vans and trucks with the big clock on the side that you see, because so many of your friends and neighbors trust River City's 1 Hour Air the same way I do. Not too late to get your preseason AC tune-up. Mention the Moscona special. They'll knock $30 off the price. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. 752-0001, 752-0001, 752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
When I say Georgia football arrest, what's the first thing you think of? What's the first thing you think of? What'd you say? Say it. Alondra, what's the first thing you think of when we say Georgia football arrests? Speeding.
Reckless driving.
My contention with that has been, I think, look, people speed everywhere. And I think we have just become so conditioned now because there have been some high-profile cases of Georgia players being arrested for speeding and reckless driving, that every time it happens, now we notice it. You know what I mean? Like, once you're on someone's radar for something, every time it happens, even if it's a common thing everywhere else, everyone's going to point it out. So it's like every time a Georgia player gets arrested for speeding, we're like, got another one? But, like, how many people are getting tickets and getting arrested for speeding every day? I mean, real talk. I mean, like when I was in college and I was on a road trip, I mean, I had a heavy foot. I mean, I tested the reaches of the governor on that thing a few times. You know what I mean?
But are you going like 135 miles per hour?
First of all, did I have a car capable of going 135? And I just mentioned there's a governor, okay? There's a governor. It's like getting a 135. Anyway. But I'm like, the more I see stuff like this, the more I'm like, okay, maybe there really is something going on with Georgia. Like, I try my best in this job not to be super reactionary. You're trained when you're, as I say, journalist, because I'm a radio host, but like I did go to J school. Like I did news for 5 years. Like I am trained in that. Like you're trained to take a step back, process, ask questions, ask more questions, get more answers, get more info. Don't just react. But man, like the more this keeps, have y'all seen the latest about Nolan Smith? Did you see the story with Nolan Smith?
I saw like a headline, but I didn't read
Okay, well, because you said 135, like he's the Eagles linebacker now, your first round pick of the Eagles. Nolan Smith was arrested in Twiggs County.
Never heard of it.
I know, right? The posted speed limit was 70. Your boy was going 135.
Yeah, that's insane.
I don't think my car can go 135. It doesn't say what he was driving. My guess is he's driving like a muscle car, a sports car, something like that. I mean, he's a first-round pick. He can afford, something that can vroom, vroom. Like 135 is hoofing, bruh. 135.
No, you're zooming at 135.
I mean, whenever there's times on the interstate, we've all had this experience, right? You're on the interstate and like you're following traffic, 75, 80, maybe 85. And then someone zips past you like you ain't even moving. You know what I mean? Like, go.
Yeah.
And that person's probably going like 100. Then you think 135?
35 more of that.
Bro, what are you doing? Like, take it to the Autobahn. You're a first-round pick. You got M's. Get on a plane, go to Germany, go ride the Autobahn or Montana. There's no speed limit in Montana. Did you know that? There's no speed limit in Montana.
Wait, I didn't know that.
There's no speed limit. I mean, it's big, wide open spaces. Ain't nobody out there. It's Montana. Just hop up on some paved blacktop in Montana and vroom, vroom, let it go. What you doing in Twiggs County going 130? What you think is going to happen?
That actually sounds fun.
Like the one guy, the sheriff in Twiggs County, just sitting there waiting. Like he don't know who you are. I mean,
let me see where Twiggs County's at.
Twiggs County. All right. It's after further review. We're brought to you by Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, arco.com. Hey, what happens when the power goes out? What happens to your business when the power goes out? You have a plan? Across the way there's a furniture store. Clegg's is right over there. We're here at Marucci. Storm comes, power goes out. What do? You just sit and wait for the power company to turn it back on? Days? Weeks? Get a plan. Just like at your house. Arco Power Systems can help. ARCCO, arco.com for Arco Power Systems. Industrial generator power for your business. It's Arco Power Systems. Everything's turnkey. Sell, service, install, rent that industrial generator for your business. They're not far from where we are right now. Like if you go out of Marucci here, go up to Airline, hang a left, go north on Airline, I don't know what, a mile up on at Airline and 12? Right there. Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, arco.com. Okay, since we're on remote, Muse, you have the honors today. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Kentucky Wildcats.
Kentucky has received a commitment from running back Kelsey Gerald. Start that over. Kentucky has received a commitment from running back Kelsey Jarrett. He had additional visits scheduled to Indiana, Florida State, and Cal, but did not take those. Popped for Kentucky on his visit. 5'10", 195 pounds, nation's 49th ranked running back, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns in his last season in high school. That brings Kentucky's recruiting class up to 17 here in 2027.
The Florida Gators.
Awesome news for Todd Golden and Florida basketball. Ruben Chinyelu has officially pulled out of the NBA draft and will return to Florida for the 2026-2027 season. Entered the draft back on April 20th, went through the NBA Combine, which began on May 10th, but ultimately will return. Ranked number 4 nationally in rebounds per game, set a Florida record with 19 double-doubles. Naismith Defensive Player of the Year, SEC Defensive Player of the Year, all those accolades. He's really good, and he'll be back in Gainesville.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Another basketball note here. 4-star point guard Anderson Diaz committed to Nate Oates in Alabama. He's the number 29 overall recruit in the 2027 class. Held offers from Arkansas, Auburn, Cincinnati, Illinois, Louisville, about a dozen other programs. 6'1", 180-pound point guard. First pledge for the Tide's class of 2027. Been on fire this spring, averaging 20.6 points per game out there in AAU.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
And some tough news for Arkansas and Dave Van Horn and their baseball squad. Kahio Aloy is set to have surgery. That's according to a report from Whole Hog Sports. It's to repair a broken hamate bone. Preseason All-American suffered the injury Wednesday during Arkansas's 8-4 SEC tournament win over Tennessee. 49 starts, hit 293 with 8 doubles and 9 home runs, drove in 41, but he's going to miss at least 3 weeks, which likely could end his season depending on how far Arkansas goes in the tourney. That's around the SEC.
Remember, success takes a team and not just on the field. At FMOL Health, that team is more than 20,000 strong, delivering care across Louisiana and Mississippi as one connected, mission-driven health system. And as a $5 billion health system with nationally recognized quality and not one but 2 exceptional workplace awards from Gallup, FMOL Health has built something people trust and continues to grow to meet the needs of the communities that they serve. When LSU needed a partner to care for its student athletes, they chose Our Lady of the Lake as their championship health partner. That tells you everything you need to know. FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, and LSU. Together, we roar. Learn more at ololrmc.com/LSU. Muse just told you around the SEC about Ruben Chinyelu returning to Florida. Let's see. In 16 minutes from right now, top of hour 2, I may have a thought on Ruben Chinyelu returning to Florida, especially considering comments that his head coach, Todd Golden, made today with that no good, hypocritical coward, Jeff Goodman, on his podcast. Wonder who those top 20 coaches are that Jeff Goodman was anonymously quoting. Might have an idea who one of them is. We'll get to that here in about 16 minutes. You'll want to hear that. That's all coming up. It is After Further Review. We're live from Marucci Hitter's house here on Segan. Come on by and see us. By the way, turns out there is at least one ethical judge overseeing these college athletic lawsuit cases. We'll tell you who and why next. It's AFR.
After Further Review.
AFR is presented by Duplessis Pools. You know, with all the rain we've been having, some of the puddles out there kind of look like pools, huh? Huh? Those puddles look like, get it? Puddles? A lot of water? No? Sorry. You want the real thing? Duplessis Pools can build you a beautiful pool. DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com. Man, they're all over the region now. Incredible, the growth. One of the fastest growing pool builders in the country and one of the top pool builders in America as well. Pool and Spa Magazine last year rated Duplessis Pools number 26 in America in the top 50 pool builders in the country. What an incredible hat tip. That's based on the quality of their work, their customer service, customer reviews, incredible validation for Duplessis Pools. So thinking of putting in that pool, that outdoor kitchen, any type of way to beautify your outdoor space. You want to add a putting green, they can do that as well. It's DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com.
After Answer for the Review with Matt Moscona. Presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
In the biz, they call this a tease. One day next week, several LSU baseball players will be here at Marucci Hitter's house on Segan. I am not at liberty yet to disclose what players or what day. That's the tease, mostly because that's still to be confirmed. But anyway, they will have those updates on the Hitter's House social media. So if you are not yet following, please do this right now. Open up Instagram. Follow Hitter's House _BR. Hitter's House _BR. Go follow Hitter's House _BR on Instagram. And so whenever they post about the LSU players that will be here next week for meet and greets, you can come by and see them here at Hitter's House, Marucci Hitter's House on Segan. And we do have, check it, we got the Marucci World Series hats. Those are fire, man. It's a black hat with the sort of lime green rope and what color would we call that blue? Is it sky blue? What would you call this, Alondra? Sky blue? Marucci, the Marucci World Series hat. These are fire. We got 7 of them left. So you want one of them? Literally, just walk in. You, your kid, son, daughter, whatever. Tell them, come on in, man. Grab one of these hats. They're on the set for as long as they're here. They're yours. We got a bunch of 104.5 ESPN swag as well. Hats, bracelets. What else we got over there, Alondra? T-shirts, bottle openers, bags. What are those? Are those clear bags? Oh, I got to give me one of them for Erica. I got to take one of them. Because, you got to have them when you go in stadiums now. You got to have one of them clear bags.
Yeah, that's like my point in ordering them.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Because I'm not going to buy one.
Yeah.
But if I saw someone giving it away, I'd grab it.
Get you a clear bag. Guys, be a hero. Come get that for the lady in your life. Well, no guy's carrying that into a stadium, Alondra. I'm not going to put in that.
Well, no, but also don't gift that.
You don't have to gift it,
no,
but just
like
go
if
home
you
and be like, here you go, baby.
I don't know if I'd call you a hero for it.
I would.
Okay.
It's being thoughtful.
It is thoughtful.
See? Think of everything. You know who thought about his reputation? Judge Philip Hayes. Can I get a little rim shot there? Maybe. That radio guy transition. You might be asking yourself, who's Judge Philip Hayes? You might be asking yourself, who's Judge Philip Hayes?
Who's Judge Philip Hayes?
Glad you asked. So Philip Hayes is a judge in Texas. And he was the judge who was assigned to Brendan Sorsby's eligibility lawsuit against the NCAA. And I say was because he, Judge Philip Hayes, has recused himself from the case. Now, the reason he's recused himself from the case is because he has a very clear conflict of interest here. He earned both his undergrad and his law degrees from Texas Tech. Now, I don't think that alone gave Judge Hayes the sort of attack of consciousness. I think what happened, or conscience. I think what happened is a photo got spread around the internet of your boy Judge Hayes posing with the Texas Tech mascot, doing the pew pew guns up thing, which actually is Lane Kiffin when he does the L's kind of looks like the guns up, doesn't it? He brings the thumb way too close to the forefinger, and it kind of looks like a gun. When Lane, we need you to just show me your webbies right there, bro. Yeah, spread them out a little bit. Give me them big L's. But anyway, so Judge Hayes, this photo starts circulating of Judge Hayes with the Texas Tech mascot, and lo and behold, now he's recused himself from the case. No word yet on the judge that will now be hearing the case. I will say, maybe we can clap it up. Can we clap it up for an ethical judge? I mean, this is a stark contrast to, I forget this dude's name, but the judge in the Trinidad Chambliss case. Remember this, the one who was crying when he was reading the verdict?
For the above reasons, this court decrees in favor of Trinidad Chambliss and grants his request for preliminary injunction relief and preliminary enjoins the NCAA from prohibiting Trinidad Chambliss from practicing, playing, or otherwise participating on the University of Mississippi collegiate football team during the 2026-27 academic year.
I mean, your guy is weeping. It's unbelievable. It's comical where we are with this. You have this Ole Miss fan, Judge, sitting there on the bench crying when reading the fact that this 26-year-old quarterback is going to get another team. Oh, man. I'll tell you this. They say they do it bigger in Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, right? Not the egos of judges or the confidence, because in little old rural Mississippi, your judgment be damned. I'm rolling with this case. I'm getting my guy eligible. In Texas, Judge Philip Hayes, good on you, man. Recuses himself. So we'll see what happens with the Brendan Sorsby situation. That's one worth following. I mean, it will help shape or reshape the college football landscape for the 2026 season. All right, it's After Further Review. You know, wherever I go, I always got my Evamore, EVAMOR, evamore.com, evamore.com. Delicious, natural, artesian water, a healthier alternative. Parents, it's a great option for your kiddos. I even put it in my Keurig. It's a healthier alternative. Drink Evamore. Find it at great local retailers or online at evamore.com, evamore.com. EVAMOR. Drink Evamore, evamore.com. All right, y'all, we're here at Marucci Hitter's House. Our Thursday shows are presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Hour 2's next.
After Further Review.
You know, just down the street from here, if you go out of Marucci, you hang a right, go up to Airline, hang a right, actually on the service road right there, you run into a Shawbills location right there. And that's true no matter where you are, kind of in South Louisiana. You're never far from a Shawbills location because they're everywhere. Because since 1968, when they opened their doors, they focused on two things primarily. This was Mr. Charlie's sort of his way of going about business. Number one, sell people the best tires on the road at the cheapest price possible. Name brand tires at wholesale prices. And when they're in your store, you treat them so good. You treat them like family, so that they'll come back forever. Oil changes, tire rotations, alignments. If your vehicle's shaking a little bit, the check engine light's on, whatever it is, treat them great. They'll always come back. That's why Shawbills has thousands of 5-star Google reviews. Go read them. You'll see. ShawBillsTire.com. ShawBillsTire.com. Shawbills. We keep you rolling.